Without further ado, allow me to welcome our distinguished and eminent speakers of tonight. Firstly, Mr. Prashanth Tavalam, product leader at Dell Technologies. He is here to share his views on how hiring managers go about hiring product managers. We also have Mr. SaiSatish Vedam, ex-senior director of product management at Oracle, joining this session to explain what are the specific steps you can take to get into a product management role. A very warm welcome to you, Prashanth, Mr. Vedam. We are thrilled to have you here with us tonight. Prashanth, I request you to begin with the session.
Can you allow me to turn on the video? I think it's always good to see folks, and I encourage people also to see if we can turn on, but otherwise at least, let me say hello to Prashanth if I can see him.
Hi Vedam.
Hi Prashanth, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
See you.
A quick note to the audience, please ask your questions in the Q&A window. So once Prashanth has delivered his talk, we'll begin with the Q&A session. Go ahead, Prashanth, all yours.
Okay.
That's a very complicated background you have, Prashanth. I hope you can.
Yeah, I was looking for a lighter background, and this is what I could find.
Yeah, I'm sure all our audience are going to be curious to know what is this. Is this a journey map that you're going to talk about, or is this as a process map? It looks pretty interesting, though. No, I was just kidding, but
yeah,
interesting one. Yeah.
So apparently, the MS Teams has better background options than Zoom. That's what I figured now. So.
Well, you can actually insert any nice background that you like as a Zoom background. By the way.
Yeah, so that's what I did, and this is what I could find.
No problem. Go ahead.
So folks, thanks for joining in. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Yes, Prashanth, we can see your screen.
And for all the folks joining, as Prashanth talks through his perspective on product management roles and hiring perspective, especially, go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A. I'll also be monitoring them, and then we'll handle that at the end of Prashanth's session. Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, so quickly, right? So I play the role of a product leader at Dell Technologies. So I work on a day-to-day basis with product teams, coaching product teams, helping them to work in a product model, applying product management practices. So far I've coached over 150 product managers, helping them kind of scale faster on the product management side. So with that, and also I have tremendous amount of opportunity to interact with a lot of product manager candidates, and with my experience so far, so I've tried to put together some slides. Hopefully you will find it useful. So having said that, I want to quickly talk to you, or kind of tell a story first before we continue further. So I'm sure you already know about this story of Cinderella, right? So the story goes like this, in the interest of time. The story goes like this. So there is Cinderella, who is happy living life with her father in a nice castle. And then mother passes away. She's very sad, but she's happy. So there's a dip in the mood, right? When the story starts, it starts on a high note, then there's a dip in the mood. So you will actually see that Cinderella is not very happy. And now the mood of the audience also is, a little sad. So basically, this is called as the hook method, where you start with a positive note, then put the character through some struggles, right? So this is called as a classic hook method, where storytellers try to hook you onto a story and travel the journey with the lead character. Okay, so what happens is she's sad, and then after a few days, father brings home a new mother, stepmother. She's all hopeful that yes, this lady is going to take care of her. The stepmother and her stepsister start treating her badly. So you see the mood of the story is going low. Okay, so even lower. And then what happens is she finds some solace where she's out in the forest on a horse, and then she happens to meet this prince. So prince is awestruck. And then she has to go away from there, but prince is still thinking about her. So there's a happy moment. So there's a sudden lift in the mood of this story. The prince goes back and decides to, desperately wants to meet her again, not knowing her name. He invites the entire town for a ball. So this announcement goes out to the town folks saying that, hey, all of you are invited to this ball, so please do make it. And then what happens is at Cinderella's place, the stepmother and stepsisters are getting ready to go to the ball. Cinderella is ready in her old mother's gown, also excited to go to the ball, but she's asked to stay back at home, right? So the mood is again dipping. And then suddenly fairy godmother appears. She turns the pumpkin. So you see here, when Cinderella is crying, fairy godmother appears out of nowhere. The fairy godmother uses her magic wand, to turn a pumpkin into a carriage, the rats into, horses, the lizards into horsemen, and then off she goes to the ball. So then there was also a catch there saying that you have to come back by 12 o'clock because the magic is going to wear off. So she has to return by 12 o'clock. While she is hurrying back, she drops one of her shoes. The prince still is not clear what's going on. And frantically, she goes away from there. And then finally, the following days, the prince is doing an extensive search, trying to figure out who is Cinderella. And then finally, he finds Cinderella. They get married and live happily ever after. So you see, there's a lot of up and down in the stories. So typically, I would do this like a Q&A, but in the interest of time, here the central, who I usually ask this question: who is the hero of the story? The hero of the story is usually here in this story is Cinderella. So what happens is you have seen the Cinderella go through a lot of ups and downs, lot of struggles, and there are a lot of times where she is very happy. So you see, in a way, all the struggles reflect the pain the lead character goes through, and all the happy moments are basically the motivations or gains that the user goes through or experiences. So you will also see there is an enabler, who's trying to solve Cinderella's problems. That is, the fairy godmother. And fairy godmother has a medium to solve the problems for Cinderella. That medium is a magic wand. Okay, so she uses a magic wand to help Cinderella. So in the story, if you actually translate this to a product management concept, the user, so basically in product management, they say you build products which will help solve user problems. Okay, so you don't build products for yourself. So similarly, in our daily lives, we have users or customers who are actually playing the role of Cinderella. We are not Cinderella, right? So if you're part of the product management team or a product manager, you are not the Cinderella. If that's the confusion a lot of people have, that they think they are the hero. I keep telling them you are not the hero, and you need to bring focus back onto the users. So they are the Cinderella. You need to go figure out how to solve problems for them. Okay. So I told this story so that I wanted to start with the high note saying that user centricity is very important in product management space. And while hiring product managers, this is the first thing that I look for. How do they start looking at problems, and what is the kind of conversations they have around problems? So we give them problems, and we want to understand how do they manage these problems? How do they work around these problems? And the first thing that I notice is how user-centric is their mindset. Okay, that's the first one. Next one is typically what happens. I hire a lot of senior product managers, anywhere with 6 years to 15 years to about 20 years of work experience, right? So these are product managers who are mostly lateral entry, have some amount of product management experience. So what we do is we actually put them to a stress test, we give them a case study, and then we basically want to see how they understand the problem. So sometimes identifying the problem is a big challenge for the candidates. So and sometimes you have multiple problems to solve. What we're also seeing, how do you prioritize those problems? So all this is possible if you can ask intelligent questions. What we also observe is the quality of questions you're going to ask in order to solve these problems. And a lot of the times here is where the real skill sets gets tested. A good product manager is someone who asks right questions, right? Because you won't get the entire day with the customer trying to understand their problems. So you get only that finite, period of time where you can go and ask the right set of questions, because customer is not going to be available, throughout the day answering your questions. So the quality of questions that you can ask in the first 30 minutes kind of decides the way, the interview will go, right? The first 30 minutes, you can actually make out if the candidate knows something or does not. So I will request all you aspiring product managers to kind of focus on understanding how to understand if a problem is really a problem. How do you validate if a problem is a real problem? Also, you could have tons of problems. What is that one problem that I need to solve immediately? How do I prioritize those? Okay, in this slide, I wanted to basically tell you, ask the right questions so you arrive at the right problems or identify the right problems. Also, learn to prioritize problems because you can't solve everything. At a given point of time, you can only solve one problem. So that's very important. The next thing that I focus is how do you quantify everything, right? When I ask somebody what is the problem that this particular team is facing, they would say, hey, they're spending a lot of time doing that work. It's pretty layman like. If I actually have to say that this particular user is taking a lot of time to process an order, it's pretty vague. You can't do anything with it. So something that you cannot measure, you cannot control, and something that you cannot control, you cannot manage. So what I also look for in product managers, or typically what hiring managers look for, is how can you quantify things? You should be able to quantify anything and everything given to you, right? Can you quantify the problem? What is the current time taken to process an order? How much, by what is an ideal processing time? So what are the different challenges in actually processing the current order cycle time, right? So you got to look at baselines, you got to look at historical data to first understand what is the baseline and so on. So what we also look for is how can you quickly quantify problems. So we also look for if you can actually apply good problem solving skill sets. One interesting process that we follow at Dell is we follow a lot of lean practices, and we give a lot of focus to design thinking. And design thinking, again, there are, if you see this particular slide I've indicated there, it has 5 steps. It talks about empathizing with the user, defining the problem, then you go and look for ideas, then you prototype, and then you test out your idea. So we are trying to understand if you can actually think through in this format, if you can actually think more systematically, if you can quantify problems, right? So quantifying user pain is very important. If you cannot quantify it, then I think you're losing the battle there when you actually get into the interview. So very important that you quantify and talk numbers. Talking value is important. So understanding what is value. Is it soft value, hard value? When I say soft value, sometimes user perception about a certain product is soft value. Hard value could be, let's say, what is the cost saving that I make if I purchase on this particular platform, or if I take a ride on Uber app, right? If I use Uber app to kind of travel, how much money will I actually save? So as a good product manager, you should be able to tell a good story about value, You should be able to tell a good story around the problem and how you can create value and what your solution is going to do about it, right? So sometimes the storytelling part is missing, conveying the value part is missing, and that is where most of the product managers, product owners who come to the interviews are quick to get into solutions, quick to come up with user stories, quick to say, I'm going to create a mobile app, I'm going to create a web app, I'm going to do blah, 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 right? Like my professors used to say, a good product manager is someone, if you go to a good product manager and ask him to jump or her to jump, they will not ask you how high, but they will say why should I jump? So understanding why you need to jump is very important. So there's a good amount of reasoning skills that are required as a product manager. A good amount of storytelling is something that we look for. A good confident product manager is someone who immediately gets onto the blackboard, is able to kind of control the whole session, orchestrate, talk to all the panel members, and kind of run the show. We are looking for people who can actually run the show right from the word go. And a lot of the product managers are still sticking to that seat, not willing to get up, not willing to take that marker, not willing to ask good questions. So that's where most of the time we spend extensive amount of time and feel disappointed, right? So these are very important skills that we look for. Metrics, like I told you, very, very important. You will see that we look for what quality of metrics or KPIs that you are able to build. Like I told you, you need to be able to quantify stuff, and hiring managers really love it. If you can quantify stuff, talk numbers, talk with a lot more method in communicating problems and solutions, very important. Like I told you, applying design thinking is very good way to approach it. We'll also see this in this particular slide, right? On the right hand side, we're talking about product process. This is one of the ways to do it. There are many ways to do it. I just picked up something that I could easily find and it made sense to me, right? If you see at the beginning, there is problem identification. You're looking at user research. What actually sticks out as milestones or checkpoints here, actually you need to deep dive a lot more, right? So you need to have done a lot of work on user research to understand what exactly to do as part of user research. Problem identification also has series of steps and processes. You need to know how to identify a problem, prioritize a problem, decipher what is there. If something is really a problem, how do you validate it? How do you do good user interviews? you know so these are certain things that you learn with a lot of training, and it comes with a lot of work experience, right? So this is a classic product process. We look how many of these touch points does a product manager cover while trying to go through the product the problem solving process. Very important for us. um, how much time do we have? Okay. So resumes again, very, very important. Resumes are actually dead. Resumes only can get you the call. Okay, so you can get into the meeting room, but resumes don't necessarily talk much, right? So they're just used. You can look for catchphrases or terms, and it can probably get you a interview call. But beyond that, if you're looking to crack product management interviews, you got to have some sort of experience. You got to have some sort of knowledge. You should have tried out stuff. Just holding certifications, getting certifications are good at the first level, especially if you want to make a switch. It's really, really good, but you also need to get a lot of practical experience. You need somebody who can help you out. Also, I would say that, don't create exhaustive resumes like, 4 or 5 pages. I've seen a lot of senior folks who are trying to move from technical background to product management background still have kind of demonstrating their Java expertise, or some other technical expertise. Unless it's a company which really is looking for technical product managers, you don't need to continue to use your old resume which is still stale. You need to have the product management flavor. Try to keep it a 1 pager or 2 pager max, especially if you have more years of experience, it will run into the second page. But if you have about 10 years experience, I think one pager resume is more than enough. Because even when hiring managers are looking for, they just scan through what you know at a high level, your experience, what skill sets you have, but it all boils down to how you can pick a problem and run with it, right? So this resume is just entry level. Resume is almost dead. You got to demonstrate value. For this, I've seen that, if you can volunteer your time with some startups or try out some stuff which actually is practical, you gain a lot of experience there. Um, so that's how I've been able to kind of build confidence and scale up. So you got to have a lot of practical experience. People look for practical experience. So if you are getting into product management space and you're pretty new to this, getting a lot of practical experience is very, very important. So having said this, I'd like to conclude by saying that customer-centric mindset is very important. You are not the hero. Please remember this. As a product manager, you are never the hero. Okay? You are not the hero. Asking right questions, very important. Prioritizing and quantifying problems, something that we look for. Prioritizing solutions, how do you do? You could have 10 different ways of solving the problem. Which problem, why, and so on is something we look for, the method and the process that you follow. Storytelling, very important. Storytelling with data, without data, very important. Okay, so having a data-driven mindset, very important. You're looking for metrics, KPIs. What are those that you want to control? How do you measure success factors, etc. Right? So overall, we're looking for customer centricity and data-driven mindset in product managers. I hope I did justice 10-15 minutes that I had. Yeah.
Super. That was excellent, Prashant. So while you were talking and going through the slides, I've been looking at the type of questions that we are seeing. So what I'll do is I'll kind of summarize what you've said and also elaborate on certain other areas that might be relevant. That is one thing. Second thing is I'll take a couple of questions and try to answer them in a very broad perspective, right? So that many questions, related questions, gets covered. And if we still have any specific ones that we haven't answered, then we can go about sharing that. Yeah, that sounds good. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you, Sai. Let's go ahead with that.
We can hear you, Sai.
Okay, good. So to quickly, I think, summarize what Prashant was trying to say, excellent points on specifically on skill sets. I think a lot of emphasis that Prashant put was on some specific skill sets, right? For example, the first one, he said identifying the problem. Now, it is one of the most important aspect or skill that a product manager is expected to have. And by the way, I think, just to give you a little bit of background for all the folks who are here, as I began my journey in product management about 14 years ago, slowly I got into a role where I had the chance to interview a lot of product managers and even hire them, right? So I'll also give some perspectives on how hiring managers will be looking at what lens do they apply when they are hiring product managers, right? So I'll get to that in a minute. Now, I didn't want you guys to bore you again with any more slides. So, I'll try to be as specific and crisp as possible, but happy to answer any questions. So to summarize what Prashant was saying, identifying problems. Now, I would go a little bit ahead, few steps, and say, one of the most important skills for product managers is customer focus and customer empathy, right? Which means that not only coming up with, let's solve this problem or let's add this feature or all the things that you keep hearing, but going back to basics and saying, why do we need to do that? What is the impact if we don't do that? What are the consequences for the customers with this problem? And if we solve it the way that we are solving, what is the potential benefit, right? So bringing in always the customer focus and empathy, and which is a hard skill, by the way. It's not easy. You have to learn and practice it to start getting good at together, right? And this is where also designers will tell you how important empathy is. Now, as part of that, there is one more thing called customer insights, right? So insights is not information. Often people confuse information with insights. Now, what is insights, right? So if I ask you a very simple question, so you have a mobile phone. I'm sure many of you have apps running on it. And if I ask you to pick one of your favorite app, let's say that app is not WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever, right? Some other app. And then tell me one reason why do you hate it or why do you love it, right? Now that gives a lot of information about how this person is thinking through, not just as a user, but also thinking about what are the ways that this can be made better, right? And now that is coming up from some insights that we ourselves have gained, right? So, there are some amazing things that people will come up with when you ask that question. If not, you should start thinking about it. So customer insights in the larger ambit of customer focus and empathy is one very important skill. Prashanth also highlighted prioritization, right? There is nothing more important. If you are to ask any product manager, what is the time, where is the most time you spend every day? Implicitly or explicitly, it is in prioritization, because it's very complex. Prioritization is not a gut feel that अरे ये करेंगे आज वो करेंगे and let's just prioritize this, right? There are business considerations that come into picture. There are market driven factors that come into picture. There are customer driven. There is your own teams that come up and say, hey, we need to upgrade this database, otherwise we can't scale. So there are many angles to it, and a very tricky job and complicated job is to prioritize it. Not, there can never be a complete objective prioritization, but at least aligning that with your vision or the roadmap that you want to take, and helping the team members understand how you're prioritized and why you're prioritized the way you're prioritized is very important. Otherwise, there is always a different point of view, right? So avoiding that friction. So prioritization skills is absolutely critical. And I think, Prashanth also covered measuring it, right? Quantifying things. Now, this quantifying things is not just about product usage or, adoption, but also in understanding, is the problem worth solving? How are you going to quantify this problem and make a justification, make a case to your leadership team or management team to say, this is a problem worth solving, this is the market size for this is the opportunity that we need to go. This is absolutely a very crucial role for product managers. Many people think that product managers are people who basically write requirements and create a roadmap. While that is true in a lot of companies, product owners are also doing that, right? So there's a fundamental difference between the product owners and product managers. A lot of that boils down to the day-to-day activities that you do. Product manager is essentially looking at beyond just writing requirements and prioritization. Now, a very critical aspect, again, one of the skill set that Prashanth also highlighted, and many people often ignore it, is the storytelling part, right? The communication skills, both written and absolutely oral. And why is it important? Because often you are working with different teams to collectively make decisions, which means you need to influence people to come around your point of view, to understand why you want to do this way and help support you in that decision, rather than a unilateral decision. Those never work, by the way. So which means the most important skill that you need is ability to tell a compelling story to your rest of the team members or even customers, right? Even leadership teams, different stakeholders that are part of it. So don't miss that particular skill. It's very important. Now, while Prashanth was talking about it, I went through the Q&A or questions that are being asked. So what I would like to categorize or group some of these questions is, all of this is fine, Mr. Prashanth and SaiSatish, but how do we get there? Right? You are telling us all these things should be there. Magically, we can't get it. So help us understand how can we acquire these skill sets, right? So I will focus on three ways to look at it, right? Three very important things if you want to acquire these skill sets. And by the way, there is a fundamental mindset change that needs to happen as well, right? If you are coming from, let's say, project manager roles, engineering roles, or even operations roles, the mindset that you operate in is well suited for that particular function, right? But when you have to don the role of a product manager, there is a fundamental rethinking that needs to happen. And that can only happen if you put yourself in a situation to do these three things. One is try to build cross-functional skills, right? Because a product manager works with, today, I'm sure many of you are working in agile teams, Sprint and Kanban or whatever agile methodology that you're using, you're often working with cross-functional teams, right? Which is, there is a development team, there is a QA team, there is a marketing team, there is a design team, and often sometimes there is senior product managers or product leaders joining in and want to understand what's going on, right? So these teams, and sales and finance. Now, as soon as you join product management at a particular role or a grade, you may not have the ways to work with all these things, but eventually you will. And hence, building these cross-functional skills is important. Meaning, if your job is to identify the problems to solve, prioritize them, define them clearly, and then work with the development team, design team, marketing, QA team to get that done. The next job is to articulate that value that this particular capability or the product gives to your customer, and work with the product marketing manager so that they now take that communication to market, right? So which means that skill is very important. So product design, I don't underestimate the need for that particular skill. So all of these things can be together. I call them as cross-functional skills, because another way to think of this is interlock, right? While you are not expert in those things, you interlock with these people from these roles. So it's it's highly imperative that you know how to talk to them, use the right vocabulary, understand their workflows. And the only way to do that is to learn the skill. And when I say learning this skill, this is not about, of course, you all can sit at home, go to a nice videos, Udemy, Coursera, and play those videos and say, oh, aaj product marketing seekh liya, right? I know what segmentation is, positioning is, targeting is, and I know how to do collateral. But do you really know unless you actually apply that skill in the context of a real world project or a product idea? This is what Prashanth was alluding to, volunteer. Now, that volunteer can happen in many different ways. That volunteer can happen in your own company, showing up and saying, look, I want to be part of this. I want to help you guys, at the same time learn. Or volunteer at small companies, startups that are looking for without any expectations. Or volunteer on projects that you pick up and learn the skill and apply the skill, right? That is the only way, my friends, to get these new skills, right? Don't wait for somebody to give you a role and then you start applying. It is the other way around, which is you start applying these skills, build a portfolio, and then showcase that portfolio. Again, going back to the very important point Prashant mentioned, I would even go a step further and said resumes are completely dead, honestly, right? Now they are there, in the sense that there is an expectation that you should have resume. For hiring into product roles, the focus is shifting pretty fast into show me what you know, rather than putting that line in the resume, right? Imagine if you know market sizing, and which is a skill, by the way, right? If you know how to quantify the market opportunity for the problem that you're solving, and you put a market sizing as a skill in LinkedIn, what is stopping 1,000 other people from putting that in LinkedIn? Nothing is stopping. So how are you differentiating from them? So the better way to do it is start demonstrating that you actually know how to do market sizing. And this can be done by writing, publishing article, doing a 1-minute video, volunteer for a talk. A lot of things can be done, right? So focus on demonstration of those skills, building a portfolio, and that is the second one, right? The third one is, often we all underestimate this, at a certain stage in careers, networking plays a very important role. Meaning, knowing people in the right set of companies, in the right roles, and being part of that network, leveraging that network becomes important. Going and adding somebody to your LinkedIn profile is not networking, right? Helping the other person, contributing something that the other person can benefit, you start off like that, slowly build the rapport, slowly build the relationships, and then when you ask for a favor, many people, in fact, several people that go through the programs in IPL, and again, going back to that question, how can we get these skills? right? These three aspects are very important: building cross-functional skills, applying those skills in the context of a demonstrable portfolio so that you can showcase. And the third one is having a good peer network of people who can show you opportunities, help you in opportunities, guide you in those things, and with additional set of mentoring and coaching, right? Now, this is where I want to draw. I see questions from, Pankaja and Vishwas and several other folks here saying that how does this programs that IPL offer help, right? I think if you go back and look at it, and again, I'm sure Prashanth will vouch for this, that there are so many activities and skills that a product manager is expected to have. And if you don't approach this in a structured way, it can get very confusing, right? And hence the first step is to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and then take a deep dive into these skills, which is customer discovery, problem discovery, customer empathy, identifying the problem to solve, quantifying the problem and deciding whether it's worth solving or not, working with design teams to come up with MVPs and prototypes, right? And then working with marketing team to product marketing team, not the other marketing team, product marketing team, so that you can help them articulate the value proposition to the customer segment that you are positioning this product to. And a very important part is prioritization and roadmaps, right? Roadmaps are a strategic tool that can indicate the worth of a product manager. Don't underestimate the importance of roadmaps. And to get to a roadmaps is not easy. It is not a feature roadmap that people will draw and say, this is the feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 in Q1, feature 4, feature 5. That is not a roadmap. That is just some release map, right? The roadmap is tuned to the, the audience and the objective that you tie it to. And finally, a critical skill that Prashanth highlighted is, how do you even measure what you're building is actually working? Now, before you even build, how do you know whether the customers that you believe have this problem actually have this problem, right? Creating assumptions and tests from those assumptions, creating experiments, collecting information data, and making decisions based on that, right? So these are all important things. Now, while you can, of course, enroll into the programs and go through this hands-on learning activity, another key aspect that you all should think about is how important is coaching, right? At least I personally have benefited immensely from coaching from time to time. Of course, you should change your coaches and mentors as you go along in your career, right? So having somebody to go to and have a one-on-one conversation, openly discussing either your career options or your understanding in a particular skill or area, or even coming up and saying, hey, I have an interview day after tomorrow, and they have given me this particular challenge, right? How do I approach this challenge? And these are very, very important aspects. So do take advantage of all these opportunities that are there as part of the programs. Hopefully I have tried to cover many questions here, not specifically, but let me acknowledge some of the folks here. Sai Krishna, a lot of anonymous attendees, by the way. Don't be shy. Go on. You can even raise your hand, and I'm sure Shama will unmute you to talk about, ask a question verbally. That is also great. I will end this finally with one thing. A hiring manager always, when they are hiring for product leaders, are typically looking from 3 lenses or dials, if you will, right? If you look at your car, there are dials. Imagine 3 dials. One is on functional skills, meaning if you are in a functional role today, engineering, project management, product management, how good are you in those functional skills? Second one is domain skills. Domain skills, you all know, whether it is e-commerce, finance, in insurance, telecommunications, pharmaceuticals, whatever is the domain that you have experience in. Third one is leadership skills. Leadership skills is, there are a lot of leadership skills, but very specifically when you come to product management, they boil down to art of storytelling, which is communications, negotiations, influence, conflict management, right? I would put these 4 on top of those things. Now, should you have all these three things? No, definitely not. It really depends on what the role is, what the company is, right? So for example, if they want, if that company's job description is looking for a product manager for a technical product and a technical audience, then there is going to be an expectation that you should have technical skills, right? But or if the company is focusing on building a product on e-commerce industry and they already have technical PMs, then the expectation that you bring the domain knowledge and expertise is high. So think of these as dials which can go up and down. And you need to go through a certain retrospection and understand what are in the three dials, where is it that you need to up level them, and then figure out the next steps on upskilling, reskilling, and building that portfolio, right? This is very, very important because, I was told that on an average every month, there is a very interesting platform for all the IPL alumni participants called Career Club, right? Career Club is where it's a career assistance platform where a lot of hiring managers come to this platform to hire product managers, not HR people, talent acquisition, but hiring managers who come and not look at the resume. They're looking at the portfolios. They're looking at demonstration of skills. So they give a challenge to all the interested candidates, and then hiring happens on how well are you applying your skills, how well are you presenting them, and from there lots and lots of people have made career transitions in that. So this is all, of course, part of for available for anybody who's doing the particular program. But in general, think about these specific steps, if you will, to get to and learn those skills that Prashanth has outlined, right? So I'll stop now. I know I went way beyond specific questions, but we probably have another 10 minutes if there are anything else that we're missing.
Sure, Sai, thank you for that. And we'll take the question by Jitin first. He has raised his hand and I'd like to unmute him.
Absolutely.
Jatin, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Sir, I just wanted to ask that I'm coming from a mechanical background with 2 years of experience in oil and gas industry. And presently, I just want to make a career change towards product management, and I'm targeting, for example, IT industry like mobile or web development projects. So currently, from the past 6 months, like one course I have done, ECBA, Entry Certificate in Business Analysis, that is lower version of CBAP, and they have made me to work on IT e-commerce projects. Apart from that, I am CSM and CSP also. But presently, I am finding it very difficult to break as a business analyst even, because they are asking for domain knowledge, basic domain knowledge. So what are my chances? Like, is it a feasible thing? Because I am looking forward with high hopes to join this program and get placed somewhere. So for my particular profile, what do you advise?
Good question. So I think I'm sure several of the other folks also have some of these. You asked several questions there, right? So let me try and take that first. Now, here is the thing, Jatin. As I mentioned, you may have worked for many years in the mechanical industry. Right now, I'm sure mechanical industry means there is some particular domain. Is it automotive? Is it industrial?
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas, right? So in that oil and gas. Now, in the oil and gas industry, so if you want to transition your career from one particular domain, it could be any domain, right? In your case, it's oil and gas. In somebody else's case, it is pharmaceuticals or whatever, into another domain. Now, it is possible, but there is a lot of delta between your understanding of not just about product management skills, but in terms of the market, the type of customers, the kind of problems that they have to solve, they solve using these products. So I know several people who have shifted domains completely, right? But it does take time. It does take more effort in actually making that transition to do. So the quickest way to actually make a transition is first within your own company. Second, within your own domain, right? And then you start looking at, should I do transition across companies or even across domains? But whichever area that you go, the aspects that I mentioned about You may have had certifications. I am not against any certifications, but I personally don't think a 3-letter, 4-letter acronym against what you have is not going to magically open the doors for you, right? Especially not in the product. And hence, the best way to look at this is, how do you present yourself? How do you build your personal brand so that people not just look at your resume, but look at who is Jatin, look at what he brings to the table, look at what skills does he bring to me, whether it is IT, non-IT or anything. Can this person bring customer empathy skills to me? Can he bring product design skills to me? Can he build prioritization skills to me? Can he build measuring and metrics point of view into this, right? It doesn't matter any product, because all products, whether some of them are digital or non-digital, technology or non-technology, requires the understanding of these skills. So my suggestion for you is to focus on building those skills and applying them in the context of a portfolio, and then showcase that. Build your personal brand, rather than saying, I have a 3-letter word now, I'm going to add another 4-letter word, and I'm going to do this certification. Certifications are all nice, provided they help you do the other one, which is make a hands-on learning so that you build something at the end of it. Right. So that would be my suggestion, not only to you, but anybody else who has that.
One last thing in this, that what is the entry minimum experience that you are looking for an associate product manager?
So not me. When you say you are looking, means you're asking me as a way, who? I'm not hiring, by the way. Let me tell you that. I've hired many people in the past. I'm not hiring right now. But I know a lot of people who are hiring. And in fact, as I mentioned, the career club in IPL, I keep seeing lots of companies coming and hiring APMs, right? APM. Now, APM is a very interesting role, especially in India, because this is a career path that is created for people from engineering to move into product management, right? To give them a taste of what product management is, to give them certain basic responsibilities of a product manager. So to understand whether this person is a right fit for that, or even for the person to realize, am I a good fit for this? I know a lot of great engineers who wanted to get into that and then took this APM role for a few months and realized that, look, that requires a different, not only skill set, but mindset probably are not this thing, right? So that is a very important point. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin, for coming forward and asking a question. Prashant, let's take this next question by Rashika. She has a two-part question. It's in the answered column, if you may see. Does having an MBA give a candidate benefit who's looking for product management, or the engineering background is more advantageous? How diverse can be the role of a product manager based on the company? As in, does technicality of the product impact the role expectations? Let's say, what would be the expectation from product manager, program manager in Cisco compared to Zomato, as the genre of product varied?
That is like another 1 hour session, Chama.
Yeah. So, but see, I'll tell you what, I see the kind of, kind of contradicting thoughts that can come to your mind, right? But see, there's no, firstly, you should try to understand what are your strength areas and play to that. Right? If you're strong on the technical side, try to position yourself as somebody who's a technical product manager, also going with some product management skill sets. If you're somebody who is non-technical, then try to position yourself in such a way that you apply to roles and look for roles where you don't necessarily have to play the technical role. Again, it's all boils. See, here is where you need some proper basics. You need to know how to position yourself. So you need people who can coach you, position yourself, understand what are your strength areas, what are those different skill sets that you need to hone. So find somebody or get some formal education. Firstly, if you don't have product management skill sets, MBA definitely helps. MBA is really good. That forms a really good base. If you don't have technical skill sets, it's okay. I mean, there is no hard and fast rule, right? Again, it depends on the kind of roles. So firstly, figure out what is your strength areas and how you want to position yourself. Then you will automatically know where to go to, and
I think this is every time I get 1 rupee for somebody asks me that question, should I be a technical person to become a product manager? Maybe I would be somewhere else, sitting in bottom of Himalayas and enjoying my life. But in all seriousness, it's a very, very valid question, very genuine question. The best way to think about it, and I've seen this from a lot of hiring managers, if the product is a technical product, meaning it requires or it uses technology to build and to solve the problem or the pain point or the need that you're addressing. And also, if the users of your product are technical people, for example, developers, APIs, right? These are all products. API, there is a specific role that is coming up in India called API product management, right? So this is essentially for technical audience, technical users. Now there is no doubt, you absolutely need to have technical skills. And if your product uses a lot of technology, it really depends on in that organization, because they may already have 4 or 5 product managers who are already technical people. So are they looking for another technical person, or are they looking for somebody who comes with business context, who can bring in customer context? Or these two are very important, right? So often you need to understand that role, but don't go with the general notion that you should have technical skills.
Sure, let's move ahead with this session. We'll take this next question from Rashid. Rashid, please come forward and ask your question.
Hi, this is Rashid Yesai. Thank you. You actually have answered my question, but I have a different question now.
Go ahead.
So a little background about me. I come with almost 25 years of experience, age 48, have an MBA and a certification in project management from PMI. Have been into project management, but since 2009 onwards, I have played mainly role of a product leader. Okay. But that being said, I do not have any formal learning or formal education of product management as such. I have been doing things around the product, probably without even knowing the technical term for that. That's how it is. And in since 2009 till last year, I drove production of around 10 products, beautiful products.
Okay.
So my question is, with this background, and I've been entrepreneur for last 8 years, just closed down my company in Jan, and want to move back to the employment sector. So now, with this background, what are my chances?
Well, I think you kind of answered that question indirectly, Rashid. So maybe I will try to highlight that and see if you can get that right. One is, first thing, if you've already been an entrepreneur, you either have done it or realized how important some of the things that we talked together today, right? In fact, I started 2 startups, in my journey, and miserably failed, right? And I've learned a lot of things, and I keep telling people that there are a lot of things that you shouldn't do. Go and do some other mistakes, right? But if you've already been an entrepreneur, you understand the importance of first understanding and identifying whether a problem is worth solving or not. Just because we can build one product doesn't mean that we should build a product, right? So the question that you should ask is, should we solve this problem? And that has multi-layered questions, right? Is this problem real? Is this problem urgent? How big is this problem? Because you're going to spend time, energy, resources, money, everything behind that. So you want to absolutely make sure before you jump into it. A lot of people coming from engineering and ability to develop products will say that, look, I can just build it, right? Now that's good, but there are a lot of other risks there. Now, again, so you've seen a gamut of it. So with that experience, if you don't go and look at product management as a title, because product management as a title and a role are slightly different things. If you look at product manager title, for your level of experience and expertise that you have, you may be overqualified. I'm being very open and honest with you, right? both from a experience point of view and even from a compensation point of view. You might be out of the league. So don't even try that. The second approach is basically from a role and responsibilities point of view. And that can be done without even having the title of a product manager. Just like what you described yourself as you being a product leader and doing these things, now coming back with that experience. And I would certainly encourage you to see how do you view all those things in a structured way. Otherwise, what happens is, I'm sure you used to, rolling up your sleeves and doing whatever it takes to get that done. Exactly. Right? But then when you take a step back and see, was that the right timing to do? When should that have been done? Is there a sequence to do this? Right. That is really getting a perspective on building the product, right? So we call this as productizing the value that you're creating. And that is where you already seem to have certain skills, but putting that together in a structured way and getting some one-on-one coaching with people, right? And of course, applying those your own product idea or a project that you want to pick up and showcasing that is going to definitely open a lot of doors for you. But as I said, don't just look for a title called product manager, and that's not going to, unfortunately, in my view, helpful.
Thanks, I absolutely not looking for a product manager role as such. I certainly will be looking for a leadership role.
Very good.
Into product.
Yes.
Sector.
Yes.
That's what I am looking
at. Remember, this points back to the number one thing that I said, how should you go about doing? Build those cross-functional skills.
Okay.
And that's very, very important. Leadership, product leadership especially, requires you to have a very good working understanding and knowledge of these cross-functional skills, which I explained before.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Rashid, for coming forward and asking a question. And Mr. Sai, how are we for time? Can we take a few more questions, or do we do a hard stop?
I have 3 more minutes before I get to call, but I'm sure Prashanth and I can take one more question.
Right. Yeah. So for the next question, I'd like Virendra to come online and ask his question.
Hello, Sai. Good evening. Thanks a lot, Chama, for giving me this opportunity. So, Sai, I have started my career as a software developer. I was an engineer, then I pursued MBA, and then I have experience into business analysis side and then project management. And currently, I am leading a team of some business analysts, and we are currently into delivery management. And I'm very keen to moving into product management. So my question was, will this be, similar to what you answered for Rashid, but I guess he has got 25 years of experience. I am like only 12. But how would be that movement? Will it be a lateral movement, or will it be like an entry position movement into the product management roles?
Very good question. So Virendra, I'll tell you really, in 30 seconds, but I encourage you to go and watch the similar Ask Me Anything webinar that was exclusively done on that topic. How do you move from business analysis or business analyst role to product manager?
Okay.
Right. There I spend a lot more time giving, because business analysts perform these roles today, because you are already, exposed to certain areas, especially understanding the domain, understanding the market, understanding your customer problems, and bringing them and translating that into requirements for the teams to build. That is absolutely the starting point, even in product management. But if you're already, it's a natural progression from BA to product management is a natural progression in my view. Okay. But again, watch out for the organization that you are looking for, because some companies who have the BA role very firmly in the organization are not that open to creating this role called product manager. Right. Okay. So you have BA, senior BA, principal BA, and that's about it. But many organizations who don't have a BA, but have a PM role are a lot more open to getting BAs into PM roles.
Okay.
Yeah. So, go through that. And if you have any questions, I can even discuss with you offline on that.
Virendra, I'll share the link of the AMA with you to make it easier. And you can go through it, and then you can schedule a one-on-one session with Sai, post that as well. So audience, in view of the time constraints, we will have to end the Q&A here. But for the questions that are not answered, I encourage you all to scan the QR code on your screen for a 30-minute coaching session with our faculty and get all your doubts on transitioning into a product manager role answered. So in the interest of time, ending the session here, thank you so much, Mr. Prashanth, Mr. Vedam, for taking the time off of your busy schedule to share your valuable insights on the subject. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, and all the best to all of you, whoever is actively seeking out for getting into these roles. It is absolutely possible. It's just that we need to know what to do, and you need to know how to do it and take the steps to do it, right? Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Product management is not a subject that you could get answers to within an hour, and hence we have made various platforms available to address your queries. So you can start booking your 30-minute session with the faculty or reach out to us on our website for detailed information on the International Certification Product Management Program. You can also email us your queries at engage@ipl.edu.in as on screen. So thank you for the participation, audience. It was great having you all here.